Hey, it's 3 o'clock. It's Friday and it's Together Unlocked, brought to you from East London and we hope in due course the West Midlands by Together 2012. I'm Ju Gosling. I'm an artist and artistic director of Together 2012. And with me for the duration of the lockdown in my Canning Town studio is
Julie Newman. I'm the chair of Together 2012.
and also an artist. And your studio, in more usual times, is down on the side of the Thames, quite close, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's an old wheelhouse, which is, it works very, very well. It's literally on the wall of the Thames, so it's in an ideal place. And it's a place where I journey to many, many parts of the world.
But only in your imagination. And I'm putting that link in there because I'm going to come back later and talk to you about the Trinity Boy Wharf Drawing Prize. And Trinity Boy Wharf is where your studio is, isn't it,
That's
Julie?
exactly
And
right.
indeed, Together 2012's Art Storage Unit. We'll do a little bit of audio description before we go any further for those of us who can't see very well. I'm in my late 50s. I've got short but growing red henna's hair, green eyes, black framed glasses. And Friday is our dressing up to go out to stay in day. So I'll tell you a little bit more about my clothes in a minute. We have our teddy bear Fergus sitting in between us. He's this week's East End Teddy for the virtual teddy bear hunt. And behind us is our Together 2012 graffiti banner. Together 2012 is a disability arts organisation led by locally based disabled artists, plus Robin, who will be joining us shortly from the West Midlands. We were founded in 2013 to create a concrete and lasting Paralympic cultural legacy in the main host borough of Newham. Now we run a year round clubs activities programme of free creative arts workshops for disabled people and whoever they want to bring with them, and free disabled led exhibitions, screenings, performances, events, carnivals, street art, all sorts of other things for absolutely everybody. And now here we are on the internet with a very comprehensive join in from home programme supported by this live stream 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 o'clock. Julie, do you want to start describing yourself?
I have silver and gold hair. I have dark rimmed glasses. I'm currently wearing a black and white cat on my lap. Um, I have a space T-shirt on. It's space colors with space imagery, and it's what where you can't see because of the cat. There's actually a tabby face coming out of a space helmet.
And we'll get on to that in just a minute. We're about to put up a new web page under our Together TV section of our website just to introduce you to all the random animals that might appear in our broadcasts and films from our associate drama company, Act Up Newham. This is Christy Fur. Christopher is one of Julie's cats, and he's living in my office for the duration with his sister. But as you can see, he's also got the run of the house, and today he's decided that actually he's a studio cat, somewhat to the horror of the 3 cats who live in the studio. But hey, it's lockdown. We all just have to get on with it, stay home, stay creative, and stay well. We're still waiting for our colleagues in the West Midlands to join us. Needless to say, we have a new computer, so obviously that's going to cause all sorts of problems. But I think they're ready to join us. So before we go on to talk about our Friday usual dressing up to go out to stay in, let's see if we can get Robin and Josh in from the West Midlands.
Give us a big wave. Brilliant, brilliant.
We can't.
Technical issues at this end. Don't know what it was, but the software is now not doing anything we asked it to. Anyway, so here
Robin,
we
could
are.
you turn your sound up a little bit for us, please? And also, if you could move your camera over, and I think we're going to have to do the same. We can't quite see you at the moment. Yes, that seems to be better for everybody but me. So let me just see if I can turn that slightly.
There we go.
And
How's that?
here we all are. I think we still need to have you a little bit louder, Robin and Josh.
How's that? Can you hear us?
1, 2. Can you hear that?
Maybe if you could get it closer still. We're still having a few technical issues, and I believe it's obviously one of those Fridays that we're also having some technical challenges.
Okay. How is that better?
Yes, that is much better,
Yeah.
Robin. So
There we go.
Weird, because normally I have it about a foot away and it works perfectly. So who knows?
well, I think we said at the beginning of this journey that when you get everything right and it still doesn't work, and vice versa, it's really more like magic. And the
Mhm.
more we go on, the more I think that is pretty much how the internet runs. But yes, speak up and speak close to that mic and tell us who you are and what you're wearing and why you're dressed up to go out to stay in.
Okay, so I am Robin Surgeonator. I am business director of Together 2012, co-host of Together Unlocked. We are here up in Sutton Coldfield in the West Midlands. You can't quite actually see my t-shirt, but I am. So I will start at the top. I have white hair, very Father Christmas-y. I have chins to be, well, unbearded, but definitely enough chins to be Father Christmas. And then I'm wearing a black t-shirt which says "Have a rocking good Christmas," which you may be able to see. No, because we've frozen completely on the screen, so I'm not
We're
sure.
still going on the stream.
We can.
Yeah.
So
We can still
anyway,
see Robin.
so that's me up here looking at. Well, I look a lot less stressed on the screen than I feel right now. But there you go.
And what are you dressed up to go out to stay in to do?
Have Christmas, but to deliver presents. I'm a rocking Father Christmas.
Oh, I think that's fabulous. And for anybody who's just joined us, right from the start, we've had dressing up to go out to stay in on a Friday. We encourage you to do the same and send us your photos and videos. It can be a real journey or real event, or it can be totally imaginary. If you want to go to the moon, which Julie does, or the bottom of the sea, that's just as fine as going clubbing or indeed something else. So, what are you dressed up to go out to stay in to do, Josh?
Well, I'm embracing the imaginary side of dressing up to stay out to go in. I am wearing my best Gryffindor sweatshirt, ready to go to a nice Quidditch match this weekend. So yeah, definitely embracing the imaginary side of things this week.
Well done, Harry Potter. And is this when you're embracing your ginger side? Because Josh always claims that he's blonde, but by the time we look at it here in London, it seems to be ginger. And I think there's a little bit of Ron coming through there with the kid as well.
I am far better than Ron in every aspect, and I blame the internet for my ginger hair. It is nothing to do with my hair. I'm going to blame that fully on the internet as one of
Well, of
those
course,
internet fairies that are
Ju-
dyeing my hair in the ether.
Well, Julie's still a redhead in spirit, and I'm an aspiring redhead with my henna, so I don't know what you've got against red. But I am dressed up in a white t-shirt with a, I think, mauve upside down triangle with a rainbow wheelchair user and regard written down the side. And I've also got a black leather waistcoat with a heart badge on it, and my hands, as usual, are in splints. And I'm dressed up to go out to stay in to go to Forest Gate Pride. We talked at the beginning of the week, this is Pride Month. It's not necessarily going to make a huge amount of difference to us that lots of prides have been cancelled because so many of them are inaccessible. But the lovely and very local Forest Gate Pride is incredibly accessible, and inclusive and friendly. And this is what I was wearing last year to go out to perform some poetry at one of their associated events. So we seem to have temporarily lost Robin and Josh again, but I believe they are ready to come back if I can just find them.
Did you wear a hat when you went to Pride? I was just trying to remember.
No, I didn't. But the various prides I've been on, I have certainly channeled the hat because
Yeah.
it's often just incredibly hot. I mean, these were the days when I think Pride used to be much more accessible. Because sadly, certainly with London Pride, it became ever less accessible as opposed to becoming more accessible as time went on. And I think as disabled people, we're sometimes used to that. So yes, I've certainly worn a lot of baseball caps, cowboy hats, and
Mm.
anything that stops you getting terribly sunburnt or sunstroke at Pride. But no, not for the poetry event, which was actually in Forest Gate Library. We keep getting little messages up on our control centre here that Robin and Josh are going to join us again, and then the internet cuts them off. So I'm going to ask you, Julie, in the meantime, to tell me what you're dressed up to go out to stay and to do.
I thought I'd go to the International Space Station, um, which I think is probably appearing in the southwest over this country. I think that's the current orbit. Why I'm going to do that is because tonight is the full moon, the June full moon. It's a strawberry moon, and that's the Algonquin term for it, used by all the Algonquin actually in North America, uh, because that was the time when it was the strawberries were ready to harvest. Um, the strawberries ripened much quicker over there, sort of in the northern part of the continent, and that was very much a feature of Algonquin life. Now, in Europe, it's called a rose moon, um, and that's because this is the time really when in our Western climes we tend to get the full blossom of the roses coming through. Um, I actually prefer the strawberry moon because it makes me think of food.
I love that. So I'm just going to bring Robin and Josh back in, and or at least I hope to.
Here they come.
And here they come again. Hello,
Can you
guys.
hear us?
We can. We can hear you. We can see you. We won't bank on that happening, but if any of us disappear, the others will just carry on.
Can I
Very,
say,
But
very
for now,
strange.
you have four people back on the virtual sofa. One of the cameras is still being adjusted. We bring our own wheelchairs, and here we all are. We're without our regular guest, Penny Pepper. She's not been too well this week, but we would like to say get well soon, Penny. Yes, do finish, Julian. I was thinking, I didn't. This is how ignorant I am. I didn't even know strawberries came from America, but presumably to talk about the strawberry moon, they have to.
oh, absolutely, wild strawberries. Similarly, in Switzerland, you get wild strawberries, alpine strawberries, which are very sweet and lovely to lovely to taste, easy to grow. I grow them in hanging baskets. But the other thing about tonight's full moon is that we have a brief Earth eclipse, and it's called a penumbral eclipse, which is basically where the Earth's shadow gets in the way of looking at the moon. So, for a short time, the moon shadow itself, the moon that we see, becomes in shadow and it's slightly darker. Uh, it starts really that we can see it in this country. It'll be about 9 o'clock tonight. In the southeast, and it's opposite the setting of the sun. So, as the sun goes down, we'll be able to see the full moon rising. Um, and there should be a live stream from Italy at about 9:30. I've really done a lot of research on the various search engines, and it does seem that it's free. You don't have to pay for it, but I'm always slightly skeptical about these things. So I think closer to the time I'll do another search. But it did strike me that there was a episode of The Clangers where the clangers wanted to see an eclipse. That's the ones, and they walked all around their planet trying to see the eclipse, and there was an obstacle in the way which didn't move at all as they went around the planet. So I thought that was quite interesting. I think we've got a link for that. Just for audio descriptive purposes, I've got the cat Christopher back and passing through. He's a black and white cat. He's a tuxedo cat. They call him a tuxedo cat, um, and he's very interested in being on camera today. So he might pop in and pop out.
We always advertise ourselves as having random pets. So that brings me on nicely, Julie, to talk about last night's Zoom together. In the more usual times, we have a social every on the first Friday of every month, the Together Music Club. It's entirely open mic. We encourage people to play along with percussion, which we provide, or to bring their own instruments. And what we're doing at the moment on the first Thursday of every month is sort of doing the music club, but also combining it with our pop up poetry club into Zoom together. So last night we had a really sweet evening of people sharing poems and songs and chatting a bit about music and poetry and what they've been doing. And Blake, who in fact I think has joined in this show by live chat before, Blake Jarrett Gibbons, was just talking to us. No, actually I take the name in vain. I think it was Barnabas talking to us about the moon and about just looking at the sky and that being poetry in itself. And we were talking earlier last month about Mental Health Awareness Week and ways of just relaxing and being mindful. And I think just being able to look at the sky tonight or looking at the live stream if you can't see the sky, just, yeah, it sounds absolutely lovely. Did you have anything to add from the West Midlands?
I'm shame I missed it. I mean, I've because I love the music club anyway, um, and I'd kind of got a scratch version of "We Will Survive" ready, but next time, but we'll all know it by then. I'll get what I've done to you so we can start circulating it, and everyone
Yeah,
can learn it.
we always play out on a Friday with a song from Robin or someone else. Last week's song, We Will Survive, was so popular we're intending to record a mass version of it, so look out for that. I think it's time we moved on, ignoring the cat trashing the music equipment behind us as much as possible, to talk a little bit about our Join In From Home programme. On a usual Friday morning, we would have the drawing and painting session of our art club. And that's very much a session for people to find their own voices. What we do is we provide different sizes and types and colours of paper and canvas, different types of paints and crayons and pastels and pens. And we just really encourage people to do whatever they feel inspired to do on the day. We also have recently introduced a still life option if people really want to draw and paint but actually don't want to have to think. And that's one of the things that we've talked about before here, isn't it? Just pulling some random objects together. Traditionally, still lives can be things like vases of flowers and fruit and vegetable, but actually it can be absolutely any collection of objects, can't it? And put it on a tray so that you can put it to one side without having to dismantle the whole thing. And that in itself can be a very relaxing and mindful thing to do, as well as being very creative. We've had some pictures sent in from viewers, and I'm just going to get the first one up. So this is by Pritesh Patel, who is obviously on a bit of a roll because he's been sending us pictures over the last couple of weeks and we've really enjoyed them all. We think this is crayon or pastel as opposed to felt tip. it's got what has become really usual kind of protection. It's got a sort of abstract quality. It's got some very bright colours in, predominantly greens, blues, yellows, and reds. And I'm pretty sure it's an urban scene with buses going through, but you also have the park and so on. Is there anything you could add to that description, Robin and Josh? And I'm just going to put it on the screen on its own, but we can still talk.
Uh, I mean, and another great stylized image of London. I mean, that's got a. I think it's sort of. I think that's supposed to be a tower block, with a delivery going to it. It says USR or USP.
Oh, USP perhaps. Yes, so
Yeah.
that must be a delivery truck. You're absolutely right. And
Um,
I think the red buses. What I think is particularly interesting is we've had a couple of pictures from Pritesh which have been bird's eye views, and although this is a little bit closer to the ground, it still has, to me, a real sense of being a bird's eye view. What do you think?
I
I
know.
think I think that's the River Thames. I think it's absolutely spot on. I think it's a bird's eye view of life in Newham.
But like I said, I think the bird's getting a bit closer to the previous bird's eye view. I just think it is fantastic to be stuck in lockdown and be able to imagine yourself looking down on your city.
Yeah, because if you look, there's a load of boats on the Thames as well.
It's kind of like a warped perspective. You've kind of taken that
It's like a
top-down
fisheye.
view and then kind of twisted it into an almost kind of 3D type angle.
Yeah, it's very impressive. So I'm going to take that down. And then the next impressive picture we have is actually one of Josh's.
Well, that's great.
So I might just try and move this slightly. Yeah, so would you like to tell us, Josh, how you produced this and also describe it at the same time? I think you're the best person to do the description.
Yeah, so it is a drawing of a character called Goku from a anime called Dragon Ball Z, which was something I watched religiously growing up. Kind of Saturday morning cartoons. I think it was on from about 7 in the morning to about 2 in the afternoon. And I used to kind of watch that every weekend. So he's the kind of main character from that show. And kind of with being kind of stuck in lockdown, I thought I'd kind of give drawing a go. I've always enjoyed doodling, but never had much success at actually being able to draw or anything. So I thought I'd kind of give it a go. And yeah, just kind of copied some instructions online of how to draw the character. And yeah, that's what I came up with. Well, that's what came out.
I mean, it's a very, very striking three-dimensional image. How did you? Is it pencil?
Yeah, so I drew it kind of initially in pencil, and then went over it with a fine liner to get the kind of the bits I wanted to be in 3D, and then the kind of overlapping lines that didn't need to be there I left, and then kind of rubbed it out to get a clean image as just the black lines.
And I'm going to change it over now and show a coloured version.
Yeah, so I drew the original and then photocopied it, so that when I tried to kind of color it in, I didn't just mess up the original. So the first photo was shaded, and then I tried to do a colored one, as well. We don't really have fancy coloring pencils, so you couldn't really get the different lights and darks. And then kind of a happy accident almost. I was doing some tidying with the two pictures just on top of each other on the table, and I kind of picked it up in front of the window to go and move it. And yeah, the coloured one was behind it, so the kind of yellow of the hair kind of really strikes through. And I just thought it looked really cool, so I just kind of took a photo with the two pieces of paper stuck together, which isn't very complicated, but I think creates quite a cool image.
And I think it's a really interesting point to make about pictures that you can just simply by sticking something with some sellotape or blue tack onto glass, with the light behind it, it completely changes it. I haven't actually got the images available because I wasn't going to mention this week, but I have 4 light boxes that went on display in East London as of a week ago. In fact, they were in my storage unit at Trinity Buoy Wharf. They're 2 meters high by 1 meter wide, and it's a series of the same shot of the back of my body without clothes on, but processed in different ways and in different colours, so they make up what looks like a rainbow. They were actually based on the Matisse backs, but it set me off on a journey of really enjoying what I call natural light boxes. And you're absolutely right, it doesn't have to be on tracing paper or transparency. Simply by putting a picture up against the window, and most of us have got at least some of our windows permanently closed at the moment, it can be incredibly effective. So yeah, I would really encourage people to experiment with natural light boxes, what you can do with the window. Maybe your glass is driving you mad because you've got so many reflections on your computer screen. Why not make a permanent little screen that diffuses the light with some pictures? Or indeed, find images you enjoy on the internet, print them off and put them up.
Yeah, I mean, and I've got to say, just purely having never seen Joshua draw anything, well, a Stewie once from Family Guy, but that he drew that freehand. There was no tracing or anything. It was literally, I think they kind of told you how to sort of section out the space.
Yeah, it
Didn't
was
they?
a big circle and then a line down the middle, and then a little line at the bottom, just to kind of give you a general, guide of this is roughly the head, and you can kind of draw some lines off to make a chin. But yeah, I mean, other than that, and obviously, kind of showing you where to draw the lines for the different things. Yeah, it was three-handed. But one of the things that I found really interesting doing it is the really simple things that all of a sudden make it look like something. By drawing a kind of really small curved line on the nose, all of a sudden makes it look like there's shadow there and there's a nose there. Drawing some little lines off of the neck, all of a sudden gives shoulders and a sense of a body. And the same with going back kind of the hair. It's just some kind of curved lines from points to other things with some little lines drawn on it. But that gives it's those little details that kind of give it a sense of it being 3D. And yeah, kind of not having any art training, I found it really enjoyable to go, oh my God, that looks like something from the show.
And then, and as Julie was talking about the other day, the Gestalts thing, your mind then connects all those things to create what isn't there from your experiences of what your brain thinks should be there.
I think it's interesting as well that you were able to pursue the happy accident, because I'm absolutely convinced that happy accidents are really a very interesting feature of art anyway.
Yeah, I think
very
it
much the
was Bob
creative
Ross.
process.
So was it Bob Ross? I think there's no such thing as mistakes, just happy little accidents or something. That was
I think it's a really interesting point as well. We have colleagues. There's a very good organisation called Rosetta Arts Centre in Newham. We have a very good relationship with them, and they run all sorts of technique courses. So usually we focus on this kind of creativity, and we say to people, if you'd like to learn a technique, we thoroughly recommend Rosetta Arts Centre. But at the moment, of course, there are lots of opportunities to sit down online and focus in a way. Usually I would much rather go to, if you like, a kind of face-to-face class, but now we have the time to really focus on the internet, which can take a bit longer. There's so many videos out there in terms of different techniques. And was this videos or was it written? I actually find pictures and a little bit of writing easier than having to sit through the whole video, but
no, it was just it was a series of kind of 11 or 12 photos that kind of the stage you were on was bolder lines, and then the stage you'd already done were kind of faded in the background, so you could kind of see kind of at each step what bit you needed to do. And I missed loads of things as I was doing it, and then I kind of two stages down and go, I haven't drawn that bit. How did I miss there? And then kind of scroll back up and find it to kind of tweak those. But yeah, it was kind of really easy to follow, um, really clear kind of designs or kind of diagrams. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I think I'm going to try and draw some other characters and see if they turn out as successful, or if I return to form and they just look a bit pants.
I think drawing is such an important skill, and it doesn't have to be done in any kind of beautiful, kind of technical way. But you don't have to be an artist. If you're trying to work out what furniture would look nice in your house, it might be that you want to sketch it. You don't have to use all these fancy computer programs. If you're working out team sports and you want to start working out where somebody's starting position is, it's a lot quicker to just knock up a sketch than to get out some fancy piece of software. And yes, I think that links us nicely in to Newham Heritage Month. We said earlier in the week that June is Newham Heritage Month as well as Pride Month. It would have been in May with a real time program, but in just 4 weeks, they've managed to turn it into a virtual program instead. And the focus today, by a happy accident, is on the artist Maj Gill. And Maj Gill is a very interesting artist who died in the borough in 1961. She was born in our neighbouring borough of Waltham Forest. I think in the late 1880s. She was illegitimate, and she was sent over to Barnardo's in Barkingside and subsequently sent as a child labourer over to Canada. And as soon as I read that, I was fascinated because that's exactly what happened to two of my great uncles. They stayed over there, and in fact, it's only recently that I've got into contact with some of their descendants. Who in fact didn't even know the history of the family until the sort of wonders of ancestry DNA. So I could really instantly connect to Maj Gill. I thought that story in itself was fascinating, and the fact that she had the strength of character to come back, because it was quite difficult for them. I mean, one of my great uncles lost all of his identity. His name was changed to the name of the farm owners. His history was lost. These young people had very, very difficult times. And she continued to have a very difficult life. She lost the sight in one eye very early on. And I think, unsurprisingly, it happened to a lot of these children who were sent out to Canada and indeed Australia to work. She had a lifetime of mental health difficulties, but she produced a huge number of drawings. I'm going to put them up on our Together TV highlights page. I'm going to put the link into the Newham Heritage Month site. I wish I could have got the images out separately to be able to show you, but they were mostly drawings or pen and ink drawings or drawings that were coloured in. And there's a reference to one drawing being on a 30-foot roll, I think, of actually fabric. So she is a really interesting artist. There's also available on the Heritage Month page today a video of a workshop which is using dyeing with food objects you might have at home. I mean, I haven't had a chance to watch the actual video myself yet, but it sounds absolutely fascinating, and it also includes some mindfulness. So the idea is you find a bit more about Maj Gill's techniques through taking part in this home dyeing workshop via video, which of course uses a lot less data than Zoom, albeit not so interactive. And that's just one of the activities that's going to be available over the weekend. And you can find out all of the information on the Newham Heritage website. There's a focus on buildings. So we have a few historic buildings, I think actually mostly linked to the waterways and sewers, because that's where the Great Victorian Sewer comes out. And they would usually be doing guided talks. But today, I think they're going to be either having virtual walks or streamed walks. And indeed, when you're going out for your daily exercise, if you live in Newham, there is a Maj Gill walk which takes you around to different sites that were associated with her work. So I thought, how fabulous. Here we are, Friday of Newham Heritage Month. Our focus is on art because that's what we would be doing in the mornings usually. And here we all are celebrating Newham's, in fact, best known artist, who was a disabled artist. So I was very impressed and excited to find out about that.
Yeah, no, it sounds. I was kind of having seen that it was Heritage Month this month. I kind of went on the site earlier, and kind of clicked on the link that G was just talking about, and some really kind of interesting pictures on there. Some really kind of black and white, kind of spirally, kind of perspective drawings. But yeah, just kind of really cool to kind of look at and kind of follow this kind of stairs and things that don't lead anywhere, and kind of geometric patterns that are just really cool to kind of look at and kind of follow.
I'm going to check it out. I haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, one of the things around Newham Heritage Month is people rediscovering some of these people and indeed some of these women. We have an associate wheelchair dance company who would have been running quite a large project of their own, celebrating in particular two women associated with Newham, Maud Carpleys and Daisy Caroline Daking, and we'll be talking a bit more about them later in the month. But I think for now we will move on to something for the weekend where we will recommend other things that you can also do online this weekend or indeed watch on the TV. Julie, what have you got for us?
What have I got for us? I've got Spring Watch because it continues, and there's the little camcorders in the nest boxes. So I think there's 8 camcorders, and the birds are starting to fledge now, so they're very interesting. I'm trying to remember what else I've got. I've got what would I have, Ju? Let me just check my thing.
I think we might go over to the West Midlands
I think
at
that's
this
a
point.
much better idea. Yeah.
Right then, Josh, you go first today.
Yeah, so the first thing, thinking about what Jig was just talking about around kind of doing things with dyes and stuff, it reminded me, like all good nerdy scientists, I have a list of science experiments you can do at home. And one of them is if you get Smarties, the chocolate, and you put them in a circle, whatever size you want, on a plate, and then pour hot water in the middle quite slowly. It will fill up, and then all of the dye from the Smarties will run into the middle, and it makes a cool kind of like pinwheel art picture, and then you can eat some Smarties afterwards.
And drink some
Because
coloured
you
water.
couldn't have come up with anything Julie would have enjoyed more. We worked out almost a year since you were in hospital, wasn't it, having a
Yeah.
major operation. And when Julie came here to convalesce, I was feeding her Smarties, pretending they were magic pills. And I wouldn't say you'd got a Smartie habit, but I think you probably have. So I think the real question now is, will the anxiety of whether you can still eat the Smarties and whether they're going to melt? But yeah, that sounds wonderful. So what next would you recommend?
Well, I'm kind of being a little bit of a next week is the Creating Knowledge Conference at Sheffield University. So if anyone's interested in that, I can send you the link. But I'm going to spend my weekend kind of reading some of those things. There's some interesting things around AI in life and things like that, which I'm going to kind of do some reading on, which might not be the most accessible to everybody. But if people are interested in that, then I'll send out the link. It's a free conference. It's Tuesday to Friday of next week.
It sounds really interesting. And also, we keep saying it's fine to not want to do anything, but it's also fine to decide that actually you want to really occupy your brain for a couple of days.
Okay. Have you got anything else on there? Or?
No, I'll let you jump in.
All right.
Well, I can think of anything else.
I have 3 interesting things, of which I might partake in all of them in some way or another. The first one, that two of them are free, and one has a nominal charge of £6. So I'll cover that one first. But tomorrow morning from an 11 a.m., there is it's called Fry Up Police. But there is a, and who doesn't like a fried breakfast? And there is a kind of Great British Fry Up online cooking lesson. Um, uh, yeah, it's supporting the City Harvest charity, which is supporting vulnerable people. So I think any kind of viewer ticket sales and stuff will be going to the charity. But it just looks really exciting. Learn how to make the best Great British breakfast in the right way with everything cooked perfectly, including a recipe for a Bloody Mary.
Oh,
Yes, so that's definitely one for tomorrow or Sunday morning, and diets abound. We might have to have some of it. Um, the second thing is actually something that's much closer to you guys. Um, there is a festival in East London tomorrow afternoon called Junction to London, and it's called J2V, and I don't know if that's a motorway reference, um, but basically it's coming out of, and I saw it earlier, and it would have been. Is there someone called? Is it Barton Festival? Oh golly, wait, I'll
I
scan it.
don't know, but to be honest, it would be impossible to keep track of all the festivals in London real life.
Yeah, I guess so, but it being in East London as well.
yeah, we
Um,
like that.
yeah, and it's with Drum Code Radio. I mean, I imagine it is very modern music, sounding like an old.
Oh, that sounds good. My guess is it's probably Hackney Way. But
If I
it's irrelevant, you can listen to it anywhere in the world. So we'll put that link in on the highlights page.
And then there was one more thing uh, for now, and I'll find the name of where the actual it should have been in a second. This is a BBC iPlayer thing. It's actually been on. It should have been live. It's called the Ballet Boys, and they had some 20th anniversary tour of a production called Deluxe. But it's now up on BBC Four and is being streamed until the 24th of June. And with obviously with our with all our cross kind of genre interests, it looks like a fantastic mashup of ballet, but done in with lots and lots of modern idioms and different
Kind of street
musics.
dance and things,
Yeah.
kind of incorporated into ballet.
The choreographed by Maxine Doyle. Um, and it just looks really good. I mean, just the visuals from it. It's not tutus and ballet shoes, but people in street clothes doing incredible like movements and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wish it's on the tip of my tongue to remember the two male dancers who originally founded it. But I think it's interesting about how much dance has changed with street dance
Yeah.
because it's not so long ago that boys just didn't dance. And then street dance came along and boys did dance, but they didn't necessarily do ballet. And now they pretty much do anything extremely well. And it's interesting to me that people often say, oh, these days you just can't get good British dancers to join the ballet. And I think, well, the reality is we have some wonderful British dancers, but actually there's lots of other dance forms that are interesting and exciting and dynamic that maybe aren't so available in other countries as an alternative. But yeah, I think that sounds a lot of fun. I'd like to flag up this. You would have to contact Regard. We will we'll put the information on the website, but otherwise the email address is secretary@regard.org.uk, and that's REGARD. We are having the first of 4 Pride Zooms on Sunday from 3 to 4. The rest of the Zooms will be at different times. So the idea is that each week there's a Zoom at a different time and a different day so that everybody can fit at least one into their schedules. And after that, we will be having probably just one a month, but at whichever time seems to suit people best.
I remembered what I'd forgotten, and that is Grey Eye. Delightful Grey Eye are streaming online. Reasons to be cheerful, which is wonderful. It's Ian Drury's story, and it's a mashup of a party and a play, and very very good music. And it's their sort of one of their renowned pieces, and they're streaming it right up through to the beginning of August.
Yeah, and it's a great piece of work actually, and well worth a listen. And there may be the odd rude word in it as a warning for anyone sensitive to expletives. And I just read, um, Boston Manor Park is where this festival would be, which or would have been.
Okay, well, that's interesting. We'll certainly check that one out. I've had the most appalling hay fever, and I can see Josh is being sneezing as well. So, although the outside world continues without us, it still keeps coming in through the windows. A word of warning: I ordered some nasal drops on the internet, and they did not mix well with my prescription medication. So, as we always say, if you don't feel well, even if it's hay fever, it is best to consult your GP. I certainly will be next time.
Yeah, that was where I kind of dived off screen for a second there. I was like, I really need to sneeze. And then I was like, oh, no, I don't. And then I came back. I was like, oh, yeah, no, I do. So if anyone wondering why I was kind of darting in and out of the side of the shot, that was me trying to sneeze off screen.
I haven't had bad hay fever in decades. And again, I think it's partly because so many things that would usually be cut, like the verges, haven't been. And partly the lack of pollution, which surprisingly, the pollution in London, because I'm very close to the A13, usually damps down the response. So it's supposed to mean lovely clean air because you can't stop sneezing. So the other thing we celebrate on a Friday is music. And before we come on to the end of the show, when Robin is going to be playing us out, I've had a clip sent in from Hannah and Stara from Act Up Newham. They, if you remember, are taking part in Gareth Malone's Great British Chorus. And this is a project where you can join in with one of his choir projects that we see so often on TV. You can join in from home, and I believe you can still join. So this is them practicing, I think it's Ordinary People, but I could have that completely wrong.
Came from a rainy Thursday on the avenue. Thought I heard you talking softly. What has happened to it all? Crazy, some would say. Where is the life that I recognize? Gone away. I don't cry for yesterday. There's an ordinary world somehow I have to find. How I try to take my way to the ordinary world, I'll learn to survive. Skippy, you should sing. You sing with me, yeah? Such no coincidence has prompted you to stay. Pride would tear us both apart. Our pride's gone out the window, as the rooftops gone away. Left me in the background of my heart. What's happened to it all? Crazy, some would say. Where is the end where I need you most? Gone away, and I won't cry for yesterday. There's an ordinary world somehow I have to find. Though I try to make my way through the ordinary world, I will learn to survive. In the roof I gallop, suffering and greed. Here today, gone tomorrow. I hear beside the news of holy war and holy greed. Ours is just a little sorrow door.
Sorry about that. We'll try again. Yes, Robin, when we play videos, we have to mute the microphones. And if you forget to do it, then I do it for you. I just have to remember to unmute them again. So, for anybody who couldn't see that, Stera was signing the song and Hannah was singing, and they were wearing Gareth Malone Great British Chorus t shirts. So we're galloping towards the end of the show, and when we hear Robin play, but is there anything else you just wanted to pick up before we finish, any of you?
Actually, in terms of singing, there was one other thing. I didn't mention it in the what to do at the weekend because it happens on a Friday morning. But there is something called sofa singers, which is very a bit like the Gareth Malone thing, which it's 11 or 11:30 on a Friday, and you just sit at home and join in with singing. So I'll send that link with the others as well because that looks quite, you know, fun. The idea is they teach you a song in the first half and then all sing the same song together.
I think that sounds fabulous, and dare I say it, possibly a bit less precious than Gareth Malone's. Sometimes I might just want to chill out on the sofa and sing loudly without a special t-shirt or having to join in choral parts, but that's just me.
Precious says, don't take her name in vain.
Oh yes, Julie's precious assistant dog is called Precious. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, Josh?
No, I think we've covered everything.
We're a little bit quiet in West
Oh.
Midlands again.
Can you hear me?
Just about.
Ah,
But
I'll shout louder.
Yeah,
I'll just talk loudly.
we're having massive issues today because just before you went to the Hannah and Stara film, we just froze everything. It didn't until you came back out of the song. We had nothing. So
yes, I think as we often say, it's not as easy as just plugging everything in and switching it
No.
on. The internet has so much data to deal with that, I mean, it's still quite incredible that you can actually broadcast
yeah,
live
absolutely.
could over a digital channel. But yes, it certainly takes a lot out of the system, and there's a lot of things we simply can't control. So, moving on to next week, we will be back on Monday at 3 o'clock with many of our usual spots and more. Coming up later in the week on Wednesday, we will have the Paralympics. We have Josh on virtual gaming and sport. We have Pet Cam with Precious Newman showing us the outside world. And before you know it, it will be Friday again and dressing up to go out to stay in and something for the weekend. We would love to see your artwork, your photographs, your videos, anything that you're doing at home,
Poems.
poetry, drama, dance. There's lots of ideas on our website, together2012.org.uk. Follow the Join In From Home link. We'd love to see anything that you make that's relating to that program. But like I say, we'd also love to see your artwork of any kind, and we'd also like to know your news. If you're a professional artist or an aspiring professional and you have a project on at the moment, or you're an arts organisation running a virtual program, please let us know. We'd love to invite you on the show to tell us more about it. So, almost without further ado, and with the black and white cat Christopher very keen to hear as well, Robin, do you want to tell us what song you're going to sing, and then the rest of us will say goodbye?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I mean, I don't know if you heard some music kind of in the background just then, but what I completely forgot is that my "Rocking Out for Christmas" T-shirt has
It's
got
a musical T-shirt.
has got a button somewhere on it. If you lean on it, then presses a tune, and I'm like, "Where's that coming from?" Josh goes, "I think it's your T-shirt."
So yeah, for those of you that could see the giggling that we were doing silently at the side there, it was because Robin's T-shirt started playing a kind of
going again.
rock guitar
my
Christmas
golly.
tune in the
It does
background.
sound like a very Together 2012 t-shirt. By the time we close for our annual 3-week Christmas break, we have had 4 to 6 weeks of festival. So our end of festival party does include a lot of musical hats and quite a lot of giggling. So yes, that hasn't done much for my sense of time during lockdown, but otherwise, it sounds completely wonderful. So it's goodbye from me, Ju Gosling in East London.
And goodbye from me, Julie. Enjoy the rain and the slightly cooler weather over the weekend while you can, for sure.
Yeah, have a great weekend, and I'll put it over to the West Midlands.
Okay, so hopefully with accompaniment from T-shirt, this with is hopefully going to be a song called "Special Needs." I'd like to help you, but it's not my job. I'd like to serve you, but it's not my job. I can get the manager, but it's not her job, it's special needs. We would employ you, but you're not our type. Make you a model, but you don't look right. Ask the owner, he said, take a hike for special needs. Gotta go round the back, this is not my door. Gotta find the wheelchair spaces, not allowed on the dance floor. Can't drink that drink anymore, that's for sure your special needs. You better think again about what we need to be special. You better think again about what we need. So listen to me, please. We're ready for a fight now. Stop playing special needs and give us back our rights. This is a tale that's got no end. I've got a message there to start to end. The rift between us, that's us and them, that's special needs. You better think again about what it means to be special. You better think again about what we need. So listen to me, please. ready for a fight. Stop playing special needs. You're ready for a fight. Stop playing special needs. You're ready for a fight. Thank you. Have a great weekend.